Hey, I missed you. We
I
missed
miss you too.
a
It's been a
lot of
while.
podcasting recently.
Yes, we have. There's
Yeah,
been vacations and sickness and craziness and all sorts of
lots
fun.
of yeah, life. Man,
Life.
yeah. So
Yes.
life has
But
been
we're back.
yeah. So welcome back to our little white picket fence. And I'm picking a
Yeah.
topic today, and I
Yes.
wanted to talk about just basically how life hard is. Hard. Life
How
hard.
life hard is?
See, life hard.
Absolutely.
Oh man. Oh, and
Life.
what's crazy is how it's not at all. Like how I have so much to be grateful for, and I have so much, and how it can still feel so hard at times and so overwhelming. So I just wanted to,
Yeah,
I
but do
guess,
you feel like that's an added measure of guilt that gets heaped on there? Like, oh, I have so much, so I'm not allowed to feel overwhelmed, or I shouldn't feel put out, or
yeah, like
all those
I
things.
I try to
Like,
stifle. I try to stifle it sometimes by being like, "Whoa,
yeah.
stop." Like look at what you're grateful for. And I think that's a good tool, but also it's
Hmm.
okay to realize that like this moment still sucks for you. Like it's still your reality.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like, and that's everybody's experience, whatever it is. Like it's real. That's what they're feeling.
Are
But
times in life where everybody feels overwhelmed and just
yeah,
like life is a lot.
yeah. So I thought if we could just hash it out. So like I don't have like a real clear direction. Just wanted to basically talk about
It's all right.
how it is for you. Like if you are feeling the same way, or what you
How
do to
you're
like
feeling that way a
help
lot.
yourself get through it, I guess. Yeah.
What do you do to get through the feelings of being overwhelmed? Um, Good
When
question.
you're super fucking blessed.
Yeah,
Just kidding. Also, just in
it's
general, being overwhelmed. What do you do?
um what do you do? What do you do? You can sit in it and just like wait for it to pass. That's something you can do.
That's
That's
what we
not
do. That is what we have to do, kind of. That's like,
that is what we kind of
that's
do.
the reality of it. That's the whole, it is
Hmm.
what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
That, like, maybe
Yeah.
it isn't the greatest because it's like, ah, it's just frustrating. But also, when you
Hmm.
tell yourself that, like, this is what the situation is. So, like, accept it and start doing shit instead of just like crumbling
Yeah.
into it type thing.
Yeah.
So
And I guess there's two different types of overwhelmed when I'm thinking about it. There's like daily life, everything's just heavy, there's just a lot going on. And then there's like big crushing life event, a death in the family, like a divorce, something
mhm,
big.
something that really just
So
upsets the balance and makes everything
yeah.
have to be reevaluated. Yeah.
And
And
they're probably handled two different ways.
they're probably
So
compounded on top of each other all the time, because life, the
yeah.
everyday, this is overwhelming. I think everybody feels a lot of that lately.
Hmm.
And I wanted to kind of like
Yeah.
think it through, like, why is it so different? Why do we all seem so overwhelmed now? Because I know that it feels like older generations are like, oh, like they're kind of weak, like we can't handle the hard things. But I feel like I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe we just have so many more things we're aware of and thinking of because we do have access to so much information. And they were living in a
Yeah.
time when they had the answers handed to them and they accepted them, and we don't accept them anymore
Yeah, maybe.
because we see them as like no longer valid or make any sense,
Yeah.
or things where it's like this isn't really
Yeah.
servicing us as a human population. So like I can't just believe that anymore. So now, because I don't have that foundation of what I know what everything is, I can't just go my day-to-day life without like also thinking about a bunch of other shit. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah. Like if you think 100 years ago, most people's lives revolved around like 10 square miles. That was
Yeah.
as far as they could go in a day. And um, they were mostly concerned with how do I feed my family? How do I clothe my family? How do I keep my
Mhm.
family alive? Like that's it. And you'd get newspapers from stuff happening in other places. And it took so long for information to travel that it was like this stuff happened months ago. So Anyway, hi, Cody.
Hi, Cody.
Rachel says hi. Yep. Anyway, um, information took so long to travel that it was like almost a non-issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
don't get things in real time. You're concerned with you and your little 10 square
You're
miles.
also only getting exactly what they want, like
What they want you to hear.
what is allowed to be out there, because there are definitely stories and things that they're like, no, that's not going to make it out there to the general public, because whereas now
Yeah.
things can be shared.
Google.
So yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of like
Yeah.
bullshit on there too. And I think that's totally by design, to be like, crap, don't let them find out. I sound like,
We can't let them know.
yeah, I always use this like they, I don't even know who I'm talking about, but it's just that,
Who are they?
but that there is censorship that goes on from different directions, and we are able to like see around it more now than they used to, because we have so much more access to things, pretty much. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
When you say, hey, wait a minute, you can put in some research and find what you're looking for, as opposed to,
Yeah.
not being able to do that.
Yeah.
Waiting until it comes out in an encyclopedia 5 years from now.
Yeah. Do you ever find
So-
yourself stressing or worrying about the fact that like you still have family who is very actively entrenched in aspects of things that you don't believe in anymore, and now you see it as a negative, and so it's almost like a weight, like but you couldn't even say that, because then you're just this negative outsider, when you're really you are stifling your life, and you only have one that we know
Yeah.
of, but to them they're genuinely happy. So it's a completely wasted emotion that I'm having, because I don't plan to do anything with it. It wouldn't be well received if I did, because they're happy. You know what I mean? Do you ever feel any of
Yeah.
that, or no? Is that just me?
Not so much. I'm like mostly about church and things.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much. One, because I don't have any answers to give them. You know what I mean?
Me
I can be
neither.
like, this is wrong, but I can't tell you
Yeah.
what's right. I haven't figured that part out
Yeah.
yet. And two, it's if lived correctly, which I don't even know what correctly is, but if lived in a way that's not hurting people, it can be a good thing. Like it
Gives them
can
a
be a blessing to
purpose,
people's
and
lives.
yeah, they don't have to
Gives
worry
them a
about
purpose,
everything else that's going on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Purpose, gives them community, gives them like a set of guidelines and rules.
Yeah, but
And
that's where it gets
if
me.
you can
That's
take
where it's
those,
bad, because then they follow a set amount, like guideline and rules that affect like
Mhm.
society in a way that holds us back from progressing. And that's where it's a negative. And
Yeah.
that's where I want to be like, hey, like that's literally making you make stupid decisions for humanity, because you
Yeah.
have a belief set that you need to vote to enforce on the general population, because you believe it to be so true that you can't see outside of it and just see all the human beings and their needs, and what's really best for humanity.
Yeah. The hard thing about that is like I think about myself,
Mhm.
and I would not have listened like to anybody.
Me
I would have been
neither.
like, I know these things
Yeah,
to be
and they're
true.
gonna be like,
So
you're just possessed by the devil, basically. I
I'll
guess
pray for you that you will
maybe.
have such understanding. Like
Yeah.
you have to be in a place where you can receive the information and like use it
Everything just has to be
logically.
experienced, and you can't force somebody else's experience. And I get
Mhm.
that. This is kind of gonna go off tangent for a second here, but I just was watching a thing about like why everything feels so different right now in the world, and it was
Yeah.
just somebody else's take on it. And I'll have to go find it so I can credit him, but he was saying something about like just how like our lived experiences and our memories of lived experiences is just so important, because you have to, like how we've said, you have to experience something to really understand it. And that so many of the people that we have in power right now have not lived through things like that before to have that type of experience, so they can't be like really making any decisions from a
Informed
place of
decisions.
like real understanding, and how that's been the cycle throughout time, because eventually the memory is gone and people are have to going based off of stories, and then we end up making just different mistakes because we haven't lived through something that we need to like have the knowledge firsthand about to not do again, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I have one small example that may be a little bit out there, but so this week, Cody and I went to a girls wrestling match, like a high
Naturally.
school girls wrestling match.
Oh,
Yeah, a girl that we
very cool.
one of our friends' kids was wrestling, and
That's
we wanted to go
awesome.
support her. Yeah,
That was really
but
awesome. You don't hear that often. Anyways.
no, you don't. And it was actually like the biggest girls wrestling tournament in Idaho, I think. Anyway, it was pretty cool. But I remember hearing talks in church, specifically one about where they're talking about, girls have the desire to some girls are having the desire to fight and to box and to wrestle and girls, we really need to avoid these men's sports. This is kind of ridiculous. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, that does sound kind of weird. Girls wrestling is a little weird. But you go there and you're like, you experience it and you see these girls wrestling and you're like, of course they're wrestling. Like, how much fun are they having? And it's so different.
I would have been a great little wrestler.
Yeah, you would.
So like, and I totally like. I was invited to be on the wrestling team in Eureka, Utah.
Really?
Like the coach was also like it's such a small school. they only had a men's wrestling team, but he was like, he was telling me you should do it because I was just a little scrappy little thing, and
you would have done awesome.
I think but no way would I have let myself do that. There had already been a rumor that I was a lesbian. So if I did that, and I already was having to be like, am I? Like, all those
right?
things.
Like, do they know something?
And while it shouldn't have mattered, people's judgments of you they are a weight, and we try to be better and get not have that. But especially at that time of my life, I'm like, yeah, there's so many things that I wonder if we didn't have all the preconceived notions in our minds and boundaries, like what maybe could I have and would I have done? And I try to what
would I be capable of?
Yeah. Just I want everyone to see how like those negatives, sure, they hold us in a certain line going a certain direction, but is that really the best direction? Is that really, and I think this is the problem with why I'm so overwhelmed is that I can't turn off these type of thoughts. And I also feel overwhelmed by my life. So I feel overwhelmed by
your mom of several children.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a thought I had on that. Oh, no, one thing that brings me peace, even though it's like a long time from now, is that you won't be able to change the minds of like the oldest generation and the ones that are in power, but the kids coming up, they don't have those same biases. If you go to the high school and if you talk to kids, they don't have the same biases. There's a few.
Love it.
There's a few that have been taught, but there's
a lot.
They have a lot deeper understanding of like what it means to be a human being and what do we want for the planet? What do we want for our kids? What do we want for like minorities and underserved groups?
Yeah. The good thing is that while they're still a large portion of them being taught, they're also being exposed to the other side and realizing, oh, I have all these friends who identify this way and it doesn't hurt me and they're not hurting anyone. And that's just how they feel.
And they're happier.
What if I didn't hate them just because, I know I never hated anybody, but you hate the sin, not the sinner. It's impossible. It is impossible to not have that. Because even if you do, there's this thing, there's this bias, there's this thing holding you back. And so they're fighting it hard with like wanting to ban books or this or that. And it's like the information's there. Why don't you take a look at it too? Why don't you open your mind
going
just
away.
a second? Yeah. Like one of going off topic again.
All right.
Just like never mind. I'm gonna save this for another time because it's about drugs and just the way things have changed. And so nix that. Anyways.
Overwhelmed. Okay, when I get overwhelmed, my kids and I have been looking into like different symptoms of autism and ADHD. And while none of us have received any sort of diagnosis, we like to pick things out of there and kind of tease each other like, oh, that's your ADD or that's your autism. Just we probably shouldn't joke about that kind of thing, but we do.
No, I think a lot
And
more of us struggle with like little aspects of that than we like put out there. But like
mhm,
I see little things in a lot of people, in myself, and I have a lot of little like oddities, but I really do find them to be like my positive evolutions. You know what I mean? Like you have to learn to
endearing.
deal with them, but it's like yeah, sometimes like you can make them a positive. Not all things, but like,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Like
But
my
when I start
smell
getting
and stuff.
overwhelmed,
Yeah.
yep. When you get overwhelmed, like your senses get heightened. Like there's like smells bug me, or like different textures on my skin bug
I
me,
would
or like
say
people talking to me bug me. Like
anything when
there's
I'm overwhelmed or a little heightened, everything's intense for sure. But I always have the smell
yeah,
thing. So,
yeah, you do.
but yeah,
But when I start getting that way,
mhm.
um, Cody noticed it before I did. Like I would notice myself getting irritated, and in my mind, I'm just like, I'm stronger than this. I can overcome this. I don't need to be irritated. And instead, Cody's like, okay, have you eaten today? I'm like, okay, let me
The
think. What
basics,
have I
take care of
eaten?
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, like, are you tired? Are you like cranky? Like I feel like a 2-year old, but it's like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I, didn't sleep very well last night. And like, have you been outside today? Like, we'll just go over the list as if I were like a newborn baby, but
Yeah,
like,
I think a lot of us don't pay attention to those things. I'm just now me and Anthony are on a bit of a sugar, like just cutting sugar in any way other than like
yeah,
natural, like fruit. Like we have the
yeah,
natural sugars, but not like candy and soda and stuff.
no chocolate,
And it's
no, yeah,
just because like I feel shitty, and I'm like, okay, like I enjoy this for a second, but this is probably causing like a bunch of like sugar spikes and crashes. That's really affecting my
mhm,
energy, and that on top of actually being overwhelmed, like I'm just piling it on myself. So I'm like, okay, I've got to
making it
start
worse.
taking some sort of steps to make
Mhm,
life feel less heavy and not giving
yeah,
into those little things that give me like a moment of pleasure, but then I feel like shit. It's like, okay, I gotta
which sucks because
X
sometimes you
that.
need that little moment of pleasure, like, uh,
Well,
you know,
there have been times actually a lot lately where that's been the case, and I've chose that moment of pleasure because I know I needed it. So I must be getting a little better because I'm actively making that decision right now, and I
yeah,
had not
it's
been
not something
doing
you do
that.
mindlessly.
Yeah, not as much. And before I had intentionally been like, I know this is bad. I know I need to stop eating this much, but like I need this. I pretty much like just like
Yeah.
I need this right now. And
Hmm. I have a grandma who she'd get a box of chocolates and she would cut them all in half and she would have one half of chocolate every Sunday. And I was like, oh man, like I still am. I'm like, I couldn't do that. Like
yeah.
I could sit down and like uh make myself eat only half the box. Like,
Yeah,
um, but to actively be thinking about like, why do I really need this? You know,
yeah.
do I need a treat right now? How much of a treat do I need right now?
And no, I just enjoy it. It's just like, oh, it tastes good. It makes you happy in the moment, but I think the long term is like making me feel like crap. So
The crash
hopefully
is not worth
that's
it.
gonna, help me feel better too. But like,
Yeah.
um,
But as far as like the really overwhelming stuff, that's only like how to not make it worse. But when you're really overwhelmed, that kind of stuff is like, oh please. Like that's such minor stuff. I'm really overwhelmed with, my kids are struggling in school and we're dealing with a death in the family and
yeah, if
we're,
you have a really big thing, it overshadows all the day to day
all
in a
the little
way.
stuff. Yeah.
But they're still
So what to
there.
do when okay, and
You
you'll
guys
have
still
to
have coughs too?
no, well, no, I've coughed a little bit since I came home from Louisiana where it was nice and humid, and ever since then it's like I'm dying.
Man,
And then it's like it's super cold. I sent you that thing today that said it's supposed to be wind chills of -35 tonight.
gross. Gross.
Yeah.
I was chilly
So it's
last
just like
night
super
because it was
dry.
like getting down into the 40s. So
Bruh.
yeah,
Ooh, you poor
uh,
dear.
I know.
And here I am getting excited because next week it's like gonna hit 40, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. No, I do
That's so
not miss
terrible.
that. I do not miss that. I mean, yeah. Like
Not
sometimes,
at all.
sometimes I can be like, oh, it would be nice to go out and like have a just brisk or take the girls sledding or something. I'm like, I will plan a trip for that. I don't want
For
to go
like
to
a
work in
week.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Really.
Wake up and scrape off your windshield. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That sucks.
It does suck.
Yes. And when
But
you're
and
overwhelmed, it can be
at
even
least
suckier.
I don't have that overwhelming thing to do. So there's that.
Yes. It is good to
Oh,
count blessings and be like, okay, at least I'm not the one I go to a lot is at least I'm not doing my laundry like in the river. Or at least, I have a dishwasher where I can just throw stuff in there and walk away. And
yeah.
like there's a lot of things we do have.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways that our lives are made easier, but you're still allowed to be overwhelmed.
Yeah,
You're
and
still allowed
I
to have
literally am in
feelings.
a part of my life where there's a lot of stuff. Like I was kind of trying to list, which isn't like a greatest thing to do. Just be like, why does this suck? And like working a job that is just very much not pleasant for me is like obviously just not the best way to spend all of your days. And then
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard on you.
yeah, because you're just spending your time doing something you just really don't want to do, don't enjoy. And then my girls are, having a 3-year-old up to a almost 14-year-old and the different activities, and one of them just being so hyper driven with a bunch of activities.
Hmm.
And I want to support her. And so I say yes to too much, I think, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I'm like,
Yep.
they're legitimately just overwhelming things when your days just feel like your time is not yours.
No.
Do you feel that way?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, to feel
And
like,
it's just a time in our lives that I think everybody goes through if they choose to have kids. And it's like
yep.
it's something that the
But
future generation should know too, so that they're prepared to handle it mentally. You know what I mean? Like we
yeah.
haven't really talked about things like that. So we were always just told, you're gonna grow up and have kids, and it's gonna be wonderful, basically, serve your
Yeah.
husband
Well,
and it
we
will be
were
wonderful
told,
and he'll take care of you. But they never actually talked
yep,
about how like
for
just overwhelming it is. And obviously that's why women had huge drinking problems and going crazy, because yeah, you go crazy, like you literally have so much in your mind, it's too much to even process sometimes.
do you remember all of the lessons that we heard where the focus was forget yourself and go to work?
Pretty
Like
much.
those words were burned into my soul. Like if you're
Mhm.
thinking about yourself, if you're like if you're worried about yourself, then you're focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah,
You
and
need to forget yourself and go
how
to work.
negative that was, and how it taught us to not. And then we just turn around to the people we're trying to make happy, we teach them, don't worry about yourself, like
Yeah,
instead of
and you lose yourself. You really do.
yeah.
And not only that, I don't know if you had the same thing, but like my parents were not real people to me. They were
No,
there to
no,
serve
very,
me. Like,
very, very much.
and I
Yeah.
think I missed out on getting to know my parents a lot more. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know that.
there's a parent-child relationship that
Yeah,
just is a dynamic like that, but I feel
it
like I
didn't
could
used
have,
to be pushed in that way, and I don't think that that should be on the child. I would never put it on my kid. Granted,
no,
I feel like my kids do push to spend time with me and be with me anyways, even though
I
we
do.
do spend a lot of time. But I think that comes from the fact that we do talk the way we talk and spend a lot of time. It breeds, wanting to do more of that. And that was not something I had
Hmm.
with my parents. They were just my parents. You're like told to honor them, but you never really knew them. Like I
Yeah.
definitely don't. I still don't know my parents. Like I know they're wonderful people, but like we don't talk like we just know each other, and we never have.
Yeah. Well, I would go on like little I spent a lot of time with my parents, but I don't think we ever, I don't know.
I always
I
spent a
don't feel
lot
like
of
I
time
know
with my
them
parents.
on a friend level.
Yeah, and they were great. And like my dad's always been really funny. Like they're easy to be
Mhm.
around, but I don't know them and they
But if
don't
you
know
see them
me.
as,
Like, we don't know each other. We
yeah,
don't talk on a level. Like you can't just bullshit I don't know. It's just weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's in that forget yourself and go to work mentality. They were there to serve my every need.
I guess,
Like,
yeah, pretty much. Whereas
I
I
don't know.
wish they had lived a
And
little more and then I got to live with them And so I'm trying to do that with my kids, but then I'll still give them all the, I'm trying to do too much.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Well, and it's okay to know your parents are overwhelmed and they're dealing with things and
Yeah.
like this is not a week I have energy for this. I'm really sorry. We've got a lot going on.
Yeah. I'm getting
And
better at that. But I always have
yeah.
so much guilt because it's like because I really do want to do these things.
hmm Well, and like my mentality of I can do better. I can do better. I'm going to push harder and be better. I'm going to, when really I need a nap. Like
Yeah.
it's I don't know. There's always that push to be
Yeah.
better.
And that's a
And we
whole lot
should.
of like self like we attack ourselves. Nobody's still out there telling us all these things, but there's an internal like monologue that's built by all of our like the way we were raised, I guess. And so they're just
Perfection.
things we
Striving for perfection.
yeah, that I feel like I need to like start teaching my kids a little more like actively talking about that, especially because I do have a perfectionist in a kid. Even she knows she's like on burnout mode, right? Like not that she's there
Yeah.
yet, but like the one day she might not be able to keep up this level of like of being in things.
Yeah. Well, learning how to let something go is so hard, especially now when
Yeah.
like there's definitely a trend I've seen with like kids thinking like I can do it all. Like my oldest, she'll stay up till 3 in the morning and do all of her college classes and work and still want to do things afterwards and she's burnt out. And
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah, it
yeah.
almost feels like
Or like
also
when
like
she gets
when
sick,
else are
she
you
still
gonna
feel
have
how
that
she
energy to do that? You know what I mean? So in some ways I encourage it, but also you can do it too far. You can make yourself sick, and it's
yeah,
like a fine line for sure.
yeah, you don't want to do like permanent damage to your immune system, but
Yeah,
yeah, there's a balance and there's a way to find
yeah.
it, but I think that fear of missing out is massive sometimes.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I have to do all of these things because I don't want to let any of them drop, so I will just kill myself trying to do them.
yeah, yeah. I get that. I
Sometimes.
I do that. I still struggle with that in my life because that's the whole like learning to say no
hmm
and like
It's
not
like, but
do
I
all
want
the
to do all
things.
these things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alas.
Where's the line? Where's the limit? I don't know.
It's
That's
an individual thing because for my Haley, it's anything, anything outside the
yeah.
house. That's the limit. She doesn't want to do any of
That's
it. It's
really
funny
she
that
doesn't want to do any of it.
no, no,
She's like, I'm a homebody. This is where I
very
stay.
much. Well, so many of her friendships are digital. Like
Yeah.
her best friend, I mean, she knows her, she's seen her in person, but like she hasn't been to school with her for like the past 3 years because she has cancer and started homeschooling. And so they're on all the time digitally. So it's like when she's at home, she's with her friend. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
if we're in the car, she can't be on the phone with Claire all the time, stuff like that. Or her other friendships. She does have some friends who she's met through real friends, but like they don't live in our state. So I've met them through video calls and stuff, but her friends are like in New York. So, and plus she's just really
Yeah.
into graphics and graphic design and like creating stories and lore, and it's just in her own little digital world. I don't know. I
Yeah.
she's not just doing nothing, so I don't feel like I need to push her to do something else, but also
Yeah.
that she is a homebody. She is so homebody, and Bella is like, get me out of here now. Like this is my own personal hell having to sit at home.
hmm
So having these two
And it's just
polar
personal
opposite
comfort
kids
levels.
and a 3-year-old is like, how do you split yourself and like support like
Right.
all of
All
this
of the above.
and
Yeah.
keep the same be able to have like a relationship where you're spending time with when you're carting this one around all the time and never seeing that one, you know, and then that's
Yep.
mom guilt, which is something we do to ourselves. I realize that, but also if I don't have a guilt, I don't see maybe something that could be damaging and try to fix it,
Yeah.
you know?
So
So
maybe if we had just a little, not really mom guilt, but like the little birdie in your ear that says, hey, this kid needs a little more time. And instead of being down on ourselves about, oh, I haven't spent that much time with this kid. I'm like the worst mother. I'm I'm
Mhm.
failing them. Years from now, they're going to take me on Dr. Phil, and we're going to, this is going to be a point of a problem for them. Yeah. If we're just like, okay, I see the problem, I need to fix it. This is how I can work towards that.
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
be a lot more helpful. But do we do that? No.
No.
I wake myself up at 6 o'clock in the morning thinking of all the things that I didn't do. Like, oh,
Yeah, what the hell? Why are we doing this?
remember remember when you said you were going to read a story with your daughter and then you
Mhm.
didn't? Yeah. Like, or you said you were going to make lemon bars. Guess who didn't do that? It was me. Or
You're an
like,
awful human being.
I know, like it's all stupid crap. Or remember the baby shower you didn't go to? You need to get her a present. That was like 2 weeks ago. You're horrible. Like it's all this little crap that nitpicks you, and you're just like, you end up feeling like, yeah, I do not have my crap together. I am not a worthwhile human being because
Yeah,
I'm not functioning the way I should, like the way
yeah.
everybody else does.
I
Everybody else
guess,
has their crap together.
and I know that everybody's like their story is so different, so their crap together might look different than my crap together. Like I,
Mhm.
my house is, it feels like such a wreck to me, but the rest of my family's comfortable
Yeah.
in it and not comfortable when I'm overwhelmingly cleaning. So I have to like
Balance somehow. You don't want
balance.
to be the,
Yeah, and I'm like, and like for somebody like if I didn't have kids, then it would be easy to keep that clean. So that's just a thing that I have that I have to I have to check in my mind, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want it this
yeah,
way. But also, if I keep it the way I want it, I'm going to be a slave because nobody else wants it that way. So they're not going to help. They don't do it. And it's because they just
yeah.
literally don't care. There are certain things, and our house isn't horrible. That's the thing.
Doesn't
So
register.
it's just
Yeah.
enough where it bothers me and
Mhm.
not them. So it's like this little
Yeah.
underlying stress that I'm like, can I just turn that off? Because if they don't care, like I have no desire to be anyone's
Yeah.
servant. They won't be kids forever.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll pick up stuff and eventually, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I already see it happening in Bella. She's already putting her room together. She's already like she's doing things. She's starting to help. And I ask for help in little ways here and there, but it's just the whole like if you look at the floor and there's stuff on it, wouldn't you pick it up? No. It's
Yeah.
not a thought that anybody else besides me in the house has. Does that
Yeah.
feel like
Have
does that
you,
ring true to you or no?
of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
but do you leave
Um,
it there or do you pick it up?
so I am more of a leave it there person, and my husband is definitely more of a it gets picked up right now kind of thing.
Oh,
And so I think we've got a pretty good little balance.
yeah.
But I think he definitely wishes that I was more that way, and I wish it was more relaxed. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
we just both have our different personalities.
Yeah.
Have you seen the mom that she left a piece of paper on the floor and she taped like $5 underneath it
Yes.
so that like whoever would pick it up would get the $5, and it was there for like a month and
hmm
nobody picked it up.
I could definitely do that. See, and I feel
Yeah.
like I'm a little more like the Cody type where I just if we were all picking up things, then I would like it would be clean all the time. You know what I mean? Whereas, like I
Yeah.
said, for the rest of my family, it doesn't bother them. So I have to just mentally try to uncheck that anxiety it gives me because
Yeah.
otherwise the anxiety is higher to be constantly being their maid. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I would have to have Cody on here, but I think one way he combats that is like um pick your battles kind of thing. Like for
Yeah,
him,
pretty
af
much.
after dinner, it's like we are getting the kitchen clean. Like before we go to bed, we're gonna clean the kitchen. So we get the
Mhm.
kids in and we each have our little job. And sometimes I'm really tired and I'm like, I don't want to do this. This will be here tomorrow morning. I can do it.
Yeah.
But but yeah, that's super
Yeah.
important to him.
Well, I just need to
So,
force them to do it. And I've said that a couple of times. I'm
but
like,
like,
I'm gonna do
yeah,
like
but not
a
all the
work.
time.
No, but like my parents used to do, which I think was really valuable, we would have work days. So like if every Saturday, it's like before we do anything else, we all know we're cleaning up after ourselves for the week. Like,
Yep.
because that's pretty much how it would be. It would be like, okay, guys, like everybody clean your shit, basically.
Hmm.
And like kind of enforce a time so I can let it go the rest of the week, knowing that we're
Yep.
gonna get it all back together. It's not gonna be that I'm gonna have to take a whole weekend or like I don't know. And they're
Yeah.
they're better. They're getting older and better at helping. It's just I'm not a good delegator, I don't think. I want
Oh,
them
I'm
to just
horrible at
think it.
delegating.
Like I want them to think for themselves and do it. I don't want to have to tell everybody what to do because I don't want to carry the mental load of everything that needs to be done.
Yeah. And you want them to be the kind of people like when you have your own place, if you see that your toilet's getting nasty, clean it up. Like don't just be like,
Yeah.
oh,
And what's
I'll do
crazy
that
is
later and then never
I feel
do.
like
Like
I've
clean
got
it up.
defiant. I've got defiant where I'll let it be ick because I'm just like, number
Yeah.
one, that's never been like when me and Anthony, before we had kids, that was not one
Yeah.
of the jobs I did. I would do everything, but I am so grossed out, like just by the taste
I
smell issue that I have, that it's like,
uh-huh.
it's just miserable.
I can't be
And
around
whereas
that one.
he doesn't mind. So it's like, but now that it's, I'm just like, I look at things and it bothers me. So I have the bother, but then I won't do it.
Yeah. Well, and you
What is
can't
that? Why is
do it
that?
all. You can't as a parent, you can't take on the responsibility of cleaning up after everybody and have that all fall on your shoulders because that's too much. Like
Yeah.
you could drive yourself absolutely mad. You have to have help. And kids need to learn to clean too, because you don't want them growing up and becoming like hoarders and
Yeah.
nasty. I was watching Hoarders with my 6-year-old, and he was asking me all sorts of questions like, why are their houses so messy? And I'm like, well, you got to clean up after yourself. This is, if you never clean up after yourself, this is what happens to your house.
Yeah.
And if it gets too dangerous, like things fall down, you could get trapped.
So I need
And
to have my
like
girls
make it
start watching Hoarders.
do it. Nothing makes you
Okay.
feel like cleaning like watching Hoarders. But
Okay. It's gonna be on
I'm
all the
like, if
time
it if
now.
it gets too dangerous, they have to like take your kids away even. Like it's
Mhm.
bad. And he's like, oh, I don't want him to have to take me away. And I'm like, well, then we need to clean up, right? And he's like, well, except
Oh.
um, if I could go to the neighbor's house, then you could do that. I'm like, not
Thanks,
the
bud.
lesson
Thanks,
that,
bud.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay, I'll make sure
Thanks.
that's where you go when I stop cleaning things. That's great.
Yeah, I think overall, like all the things I'm talking about in my day to day, like I got like they're really not that big, and I know what I need to do. Like I need to ask for help more. I need to say no more. And I also need to try to enjoy the chaos more and like just live in the mess and enjoy the time with the kids because one of the things I'm trying to really learn from the generations ahead of us is how everybody still says and always has says how much they miss that time with their kids and that they wish they could get back that time when they had,
Yeah.
pretty much. I think one mom said she was like, I just miss them needing me, miss them needing to call me because they have their own families and the things. So it's like, I know I will miss it as stressed out as I feel right now.
Mhm.
So I think that the thing that is making my overwhelming life that is, that I can deal with so feel undealable is I'm like too self-aware. I'm too aware of the rest of the world
Yeah.
around us and I can't turn it off. And I know that you've said like take breaks and stuff, but I feel like we're at a point in history where like that's something that people who are really privileged can say because we can stop paying
Mhm.
attention and we kind of fit the mold of like just I don't like we are very privileged and I see that.
Yeah.
And so to stop paying attention or like to just like what our perceived injustices are in the world, just I
Instead of
can't.
fixing it, we just let it
Yeah,
sit for a while.
like I can't turn it off
Yeah.
and it's gonna be there and I feel like that's just like some I don't know. um
Yeah.
and I don't want to turn it off either because I don't want to just be blissfully unaware. I feel like I sent you a TikTok recently of a guy who was talking about like how all the like intellectual minds of the world would agree that like kind of like you should let each place like with religions and like you should let them do their
Mhm.
thing, like stay out of it, let them do their thing. But he's like, but
Yeah.
really, like if we're really smart and we like, those are human beings and certain people are held um like like he used women and women's bodies as like a point of reference and he's like how we decide what is appropriate with a woman's body. It's like there's like another country, let's say that's how they do it, and that's, the intellectual mind says let them do their thing and we do our thing. But if we like I'm trying to get to a point that I'm having a hard time get here. It's like we
No,
know
I get it.
better. We
Like,
know that pain and suffering is being inflicted, and to say that like we
that's their
shouldn't have a
choice. Let
problem
them
with
do
it,
it.
and that's their choice.
Mhm.
Like it just seems so stupid and ignorant, and so much of our world is that way. And just knowing that, like, really truly the technology exists and the means exist for us to like find a way to feed everybody and to house everybody, like that exists. It feels like we've evolved to a point, but we can't do that because of like all the differences and the different ways that people, I mean, even just here in the US, we can't do that because we just fight all the time about stupid shit, like
Mhm.
how can we get past all the stupid shit and actually start dealing with this stuff, because that just weighs on my mind and I can't turn it
Mhm.
off. So what can I do?
What can you
But
do?
then that's adding another thing to
It's
do, and I can't do anything, so I should just live my life and just worry about myself.
no, I think no problems will get solved if you don't ponder them and don't think about what you would do if it was you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is there a lot I myself can do? Not at this time. I like to have, like, when I wake up in the morning, it's like 6 a.m. I'm just laying in bed and my mind goes a lot of different places. And sometimes it would go, what would you do if you were president and you had the ability to make any rules? What would you know, what would you put into place, and what would be important to you? And I think those kind of things are important. It's important to know how you would fix a problem, even if nobody's listening. To just be like,
Yeah.
this is a solution. Your brain sits better when it can see a solution, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. That was kind of
It
just
is, but
rambling.
I guess then
But
sometimes when I feel like I can see a solution, but we can't get to that solution because we're so divided, because, like
super frustrating.
because people are so comfortable in their belief system that gives them purpose and everything, that they don't care to
Mhm.
think about everything else because it doesn't matter. They're
Well,
good.
just
They're happy.
yeah, it takes time. It's the waiting it out's the hardest part, I think, because like like me saying earlier, when I was deeply entrenched in it, I wouldn't have listened. You
Yeah.
could mandate whatever you want, and I, I would have still believed the way I believed. I still would have thought the way I thought. I don't think nobody could have said anything that would have changed my
Me
belief
either.
system.
Me
It
either.
needed to be the right the right thoughts at the right time and the right, like, I don't know, just me seeing all the things playing out in my life how I needed things to be. And
Yeah.
when it stopped making sense for me, I needed to change my belief system a little bit.
Yeah. And I feel
And
like I
so,
could look at the ways that like that was negative for me being in it, and feel like like I imagine that is a negative on all of them as well. It's just not a negative that they can accept or, or
they don't see it as a
see.
negative. They want,
Yeah, because they don't feel the weight of it or anything like that. They don't feel the weight of having made decisions based on that, and now seeing people, annoying people, and knowing that you voted in the best interest of basically corporations and not human beings.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Or
it's
because that's the way you thought God wanted you to vote. Like, of course you would vote that way, because
exactly like,
if God
and
wants it, then who am I to look into it? Like,
yeah, and could someone tell me
I don't
why
know.
like a god it even makes sense or has importance? It just sounds like all these stories and they don't make any sense. Like it's like someone decided to play around. It's like a toddler made it all up. Like I was playing house, because as we grow and things like that, we're not playing the types of games or being negative the way that they're all like very childish. Like the gods and the what they did and set the rules and stuff, those are just small-minded things. Does that make sense? I
Way
don't
of
know.
controlling people,
Yeah. Anyway.
large groups of people. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that I would not have perceived as negative that I do now.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if I'm right. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, so you
Um,
say that a lot, but feel it.
I
You
do.
feel, you know what
Yeah, but I
you're
knew before
but here's the
too.
thing. You know that you're caring about people, right? Like I knew what I was told before, and in that way I thought I was caring about people. Now I know I care about people. So I know that I'm
Yeah.
right in like caring about people more
Yeah,
so
but
than,
have
you
you
know what I mean?
ever pondered on like enabling people? Like, am I loving them too much? You know what
Oh,
I mean? Am
yes.
I stopping people from taking personal responsibility because I
Mm-hmm.
love them too much? Like,
Yeah.
there's
I'm
I
saying
I
love
don't have
humanity though, not an individual. Love
yeah.
humanity enough to like let us all thrive and see what comes out of that. Love humanity enough to like, yeah, have some people who are more capable or you know what I mean? Like I would feel a lot
Yeah.
better about the work that I did if I was only doing the work for the sake of doing the work instead of it always being something to do with business and money and because I'm in the healthcare
Mhm.
field and it feels like it should be like you just go see them to get fit, but it's all this other business, really. And it's like,
Yeah. That does suck.
I don't know.
It'd be nice if we could take out all of the that crap and just focus on the real meat of what people are doing, especially
Yeah.
in healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just feel like if, and this is obviously just me feeling like, and that's doesn't mean anything, but we could do better if we all work together, like as a whole.
Mhm.
But we never will because of all the things that like divide us. And that like racks my brain. So yeah, maybe I just
Yeah.
need to be doing more like journaling of like what would I do and try to work out things and like come to a solution because even if I can't do anything about it, at least if I'm
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'll try
Well,
that.
and one thing you can do is read up on like um, different countries that have used like socialism and communism and see what went wrong there and
Well,
what you could fix and what because
yeah.
there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, and to make like a broad like you're socialist if you want to do this, like we already have a lot of socialist programs.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
like I don't think that any
So why
one
is
thing
it,
was
at
right
what
or to
point does it become,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
But
I'm
to
not
also
saying we need
label
to
it
like
that,
be
you know what I
socialist or
mean?
be communist, but yeah, but to see, because right now we just see how capitalism is working and not working.
I
Like
see how I think
what do
we
we
see
see that
how
works
every
and
single one of them has run amok because it's all
yeah.
about power.
Hmm.
So socialism with too much power, capitalism too much, anybody who has too many
Yeah.
people
So how do you
power where
cap that
people
power and
yeah,
how do you get
exactly.
rid of it
I
being
don't think
when
any one
people
of
are
those
in power?
things inherently is the problem. It's that people and their desire for power and control are the problem.
Yeah. The thing that all of those have in common is that we as people just eventually screw it up every time.
Yeah. And maybe it goes
We
back
just
to that guy's thing that I was telling you about, where he was talking about how if you look at like, it's like every 100 years, there's like a big thing. And it was like the cycles of like going through history and that whole idea of like lived memory. But now that we're
mhm,
able to share so much more with
keep
social
track of it
media
and
and
yeah.
how the younger generations are being so much more like just not taking everything and saying, okay, sure, that's reality because that's what you're telling me it is. And they're thinking a little more for themselves. I think,
Mhm.
it's going to be a positive, or I hope it's going to be a positive. I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, it will evolve one way or another,
Yeah.
but it is overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So
um,
I'm going to say no more. I'm going to ask for more help and I'm going to start journaling like solutions to all the world's problems. And maybe my head will feel less.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. And um, my mind just went somewhere really fast, but like I heard somebody talking about it as rings. Like you have yourself, then you have your family that's this ring around you, right? And then you have your like extended family and community, and then you have like the world, and you have to decide how much care like you're given to each one. And if this one's becoming more overwhelming than this one in here, then maybe we break it off into smaller pieces, like focus on one or two little things. I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole
Yeah,
different
yeah.
ball of wax.
No, it
But
makes sense though. It makes sense. And
and the most important one is when you're feeling overwhelmed, you find a friend and call them.
yeah,
Like that helps so much.
yeah, and
Hey,
record it like a live therapy session
live therapy sessions. Yes,
and call it a podcast.
that's true. That is what you do.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. Having
Yeah.
having someone to talk to and bounce ideas off of and tell you you're not crazy and like it's
And
it's
maybe
really,
sometimes it's
really
good to tell
important.
people, yeah, maybe you're a little crazy in that area. My kids will tell me that
Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah. Like
like you're
if they touch
that's a
my
little out there,
straw,
but
like my drink dies. And they're like
yeah,
trying to
it's
help me
now
break that
gone.
a little crazy. Yeah, they're like, that's crazy. And I'm like, I know it's crazy. Respect the
Is it
crazy just
though?
a little
Is
bit.
it?
Like,
Yeah.
like if an accident
What
happens, I
crazy
won't
are you
freak out.
allowed?
But yeah, but like please
Yeah.
respect it to an extent that like I have I
Yep.
have my issues, okay? And I
Has some
try to like,
things.
yeah, I think it's okay to acknowledge your areas where
Yeah.
maybe that is a little crazy. I'm not gonna die if I drink that. But also
No.
like
But
there's
does
other
it feel like
feelings
somebody
that
just
I
hocked a
have.
loogie into your beverage? Yes. Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
mhm. So if you don't want me spitting in your juice, then
Oh
don't touch my
God.
straw.
Hog
The end.
Delugi is just that say it
It's
just
it
makes me want to vomit
no,
just saying
yep,
it.
yep. No,
Oh
there are a few
God.
sentences that bring that type of
Man,
visual image.
my job like has a little too much of that, honestly. Like, laying on your
I
back
can
with
I can see
water
how that
running
would
to the
be.
back and stuff like that, and the postnasal drip. Like a lot of times people just need a, like, and I
Ugh.
die
For
a
you, for
little,
me, it would be hard, but for you, that's dang near
which is,
impossible, man.
yeah,
I don't.
which I feel like there's a need for, people in my field. So I'm like
Of
trying
course,
to, just
do your
play my
part, and
part because it's what I went to school for and everything, but it's what I never should have done
yeah,
in the first place. So alas, kids, do what you want to do, not what's good for a mom and a wife to do, because you're just trying to
yeah.
fill that role because everything else you want to do is just a little out there, Like I
Mhm.
really I would have been a little too flighty, travel-y, like definitely would have
Yeah,
wanted to do something in journalism or just yeah, or
yeah.
even just I really enjoyed sales and like going to all the trade shows and stuff. That was really fun. Just talking
Yeah.
to all the different
I think you have
people.
a knack for that.
But it's with travel for kids and stuff like that. So
That is hard. Well,
yeah.
and hopefully you're teaching your kids things like you're making your kids aware of those kind of things. So it's
Hmm.
not just told to them that, hey, if you're overwhelmed, that
Yeah.
means you're not working hard enough.
They
Like
yeah. I try to. I
that's
try to be like, these are your expectations too, like that you're setting on yourself. Like when Bella will be like, did you check my grades? Did you check Haley's grades? Do you see what we and I'm just like, not yet, but I'll get to it. But also, I'm just like, if it were straight C's, like I might be like, hey, I know you can do better than this. Let's see what's going on. But also, like,
mhm.
I'm not gonna punish you. Like you're holding yourself, like you've set some pretty high expectations, and I'm proud of you for making them and achieving them. But I am not the driving force when it comes to those things because I want
I'm
it
not
to
gonna kill
be,
you to
yeah, because I want them to like see what naturally like speaks to them. Bella, it just happens to be math. My sister Amy is
that's good.
yeah, she has her master's in math and just really it works in their brains and stuff, and she likes all
Yep,
things
that's what my
puzzly and
oldest
math.
is going for.
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, you at least you have this thing that like you really enjoy. And Haley's got
Hmm.
her graphic design. Granted, I don't love that they're both already like this, like so hyper focused on
Knowing
what
what
they
they
need their
want.
job to do. I'm glad because I'm like, hey, I was not really thinking about that at that point in time. Like it was kind of like a maybe I'll be a
Yeah.
teacher. A lot of moms are teachers. Maybe I'll, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like
Yeah.
any time that I had the idea of like wanting to be like an actress or like a journalist or anything like that, I would really quiet those thoughts. Like I'd make fun of myself because my
It doesn't
family's
work with.
we're big teasers, but also just the things that were wrong with me and why that wouldn't have worked for me. You know what I mean?
I don't think there's anything
Like
wrong with
the
you, but yeah.
self-deprecating type things that can be you can say them and it's not like a negative. It's like helps you get over it type thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were real. I think it didn't feel real for me that I could do it. So I had to give myself reasons why that couldn't be me.
Yeah.
But so I'm trying to stifle those type of thoughts in my kids, like that. Whatever you want to do, let's try it.
Let's give it a whirl.
Yeah,
Why not?
nobody was like verbally being like, "You're not going to be that," but also nobody was talking to me about what I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. It was just all I saw all throughout the time was church related type things, and it was just all about the family and all about, like you would, even when you were young, don't you remember hearing things about like being a dutiful wife and just supporting your husband, and that's how you hold the priesthood, you hold him up, like those type of things that they just somehow create these blocks in you because you see that as like right and what you should be going to achieve, and it like,
And there's still a lot of that's good. I still like going out of my way to have a good relationship with my husband.
yeah,
But I see it
with
more as
whoever
I do it
you're in
because
a
I
relationship
like you,
with.
not
Yeah,
I would hope that I do it now because I like him and I want to get to know him and not because church said so. So
yeah. Or I don't
you have
think
to.
like, I think everybody did, when you like someone, but when things start to go sour, I think people would just hold on to those serving and not allow themselves to be like, whoa, this is not
Yeah.
okay, or this
Something that needs
is,
to be fixed.
yeah, we would just live with things. And I feel like my brain
I
is
think
just
that's
kind of
how
going all over right now for sure. Like
everywhere.
I've got myself going too many directions in my mind, but hopefully I've
Well, and
made
maybe we'll have to do a whole,
sense-ish.
yeah. And maybe we'll have to do a whole podcast on that topic that we just ended up with. But I think that's how you go from being like in love with each other to being roommates, or like you see the old couples. There's the old couples that are either like still holding hands and walking through the park and being super cute, and then there's the other ones that have like completely separate lives that are just like, you know, they come together when their family's all together
Yeah,
or something. They
no.
have a dinner, but they're not like their lives are completely separate.
Me and Anthony have
And
pretty much chosen codependency.
yeah, I think we're kind of the same way.
We really like spending a lot of time together, and
Hmm.
when we're not together, we'll be like, I miss you. Because I do, because it's like, even when we're just hanging out, sitting on the couch and I'm playing on my phone, like I'm cuddled into him. He's like an extension of me. He's my person that I'm comfortable in his space. Because there's not a lot of people that I like want up in my space because I don't want to breathe they're like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, and it's the family that you've chosen.
Hmm.
Like all of your other family, you didn't get to choose. They're just there and they're all awesome, but
Yeah.
your brothers are your brothers, your sisters are your sisters, your kids are your kids. But that's the one person that you were
Yeah,
like,
you.
you
Yeah, I
you
choose
are in my
you.
life. I
Yeah.
choose you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
So
think I chose well. And not that everything's been perfect, because it hasn't, but that's been part of like both of us growing up. And it's been like he's continued to fight the good fight and always try to, be accountable to whatever his actions were and be better when he knows better, which is why I love him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And to get to know somebody on a deep level where you're like, I know who you are.
Yeah.
And um yeah, and none of us are perfect. And if you expect marriage to be perfect when you get into it, good luck. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
The fact that we can sit around and be so imperfect with each other and like it not change like anything. There's no less desire or anything. We're just both freaking tired. And
But
tomorrow's
that's where
another
you can
day. Get
go
to wear a pair of sweatpants.
when you're overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
I
that
do.
yeah.
But then I'm not doing enough. Just kidding.
Right? So overwhelming.
Yeah.
So
Anyways,
yeah, I think we all get overwhelmed and just
too much of it
know that
is
you're not crazy.
self-inflicted. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. There's always little things we can do to change, but
Hmm. Well,
just
and really, honestly, I used to be on an anxiety like depression meds, and I do think they really helped me just like keep my underlying anxiety at bay. And when you have
check.
just a feeling of anxiety at all times, sometimes you can attach it to things more than you would otherwise. But So I
Yeah.
need to get back on my anxiety meds. We went through a time where Anthony, I know I told you this, right? When he lost his job, but was
Yeah.
going between, then we lost insurance. And right during that time, when I needed to refill my prescription, it was also that I needed to go do my whole blood work and everything. And because I was due for that, without having my
no
next
can do.
annual appointment, yeah, I had to come in and do the blood work and everything. I was like, okay, I can't spend an extra few hundred on all of that right now. I don't know when my husband's going to get a job at this point in time.
Yeah.
So I just ended up going off the meds, and it was actually pretty miserable. I had a lot of like brain zaps and it was shitty. So now I'm like, the last thing I want to do is go back on it because I would never want to have to come off of it again. Granted, I'd probably do it more gradually.
Yeah, not as cold turkey. That's probably beneficial.
But my job works all the same hours as doctors' offices, so
that's true.
I'll figure it out somehow.
I'll go for you. Just tell me all of your like symptoms, and I'll be like,
okay,
yes, my name is Rachel, and this is.
Why are you being seen in Idaho if your main residence is in Florida?
Right. Blood work probably wouldn't work there. There's probably a few things that they need.
Well, we'll figure it out.
But
anyways,
yeah.
All right. Do you have any more
when you're
thoughts?
overwhelmed, call me.
Yeah, ditto.
No.
Thanks
for being the person that I call.
No things. I probably should just start doing that more, calling when I'm driving. Just being like, bitch about stuff because I know you're always there. Let me bitch about the weird stuff.
Please do.
Yes, back
please do, and I will return the favor by.
Yeah. I know. I think we use this a little too much now. We don't get as much just like
I know
calling because we use this, so we gotta like get that back in there.
Therapy has been nice though.
Yes, it has.
So,
all right. Well,
Lilas, I love you.
And
awesome.
if anybody's still here, please like and subscribe, and share or see the things that I see people say. All right, I'll talk to you next week and before.
All right, see you.
I love you.
And
bye.
Before.
Yeah,
all the times.
Yes.
Bye.
Subscribe up there.
Subscribe.
There's a subscribe up there.
Okay.
Like the button.
Okay.